Well, Jim, to wake up from this Helix nap here, let's talk about another big story going around. We talked about Dave Meltzer's apology of sorts on his show. Ever since CM Punk went on Instagram to respond to Dave Meltzer, everyone's been talking about this story, the AEW drama, the self-induced AEW drama. And now Jon Moxley has weighed in on things on his wife's podcast.
Well, because Moxley also was somewhat taken to task for his rewriting of the Rocky III script when he insisted that he be allowed to squash the guy he was being asked to put over first. So, yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what he has to say.
All right, give me a second. We're going to pull this up to review it. Jace Nakarado sent me some notes.
Now, is this a confrontational type of interview? Does she really ask the hard questions, get to the meat of the matter, the root of the situation?
I could be wrong, but I believe they're in the same room or at least the same house while they're recording this show, I would imagine. But let's.
But certainly she's not going to let the fact that she's married to the guy bias her. You know, she is the Barbara Walters of wrestling.
No, she what?
Renee Moxley good. So certainly she's going to go into this like a journalist and ask the hard questions and put this guy's feet to the fire.
Well, let's hear it now. Let's start. Here's Jon Moxley talking to his wife.
Guys, another Jon session here. I just want to put it out there that we actually planned on recording this last week. And honestly, I kind of wish that we had have just recorded this last week before some drama-rama started to unfold, because now I feel like the spotlight is on you to respond to all of this.
Don't ever compare her to Barbara Walters ever again. Do me a favor.
Sorry, Diane Sawyer. Okay.
Oh, give me a break.
Drama, and I know that you don't really give a shit to respond.
Didn't Barbara Walters always use the phrase drama-rama?
Good band from New Jersey, actually, originally. But Rodney Bingenheimer made them famous. Let's go back to this.
To any of this drama, but of course I would be remiss to not ask you about it, I guess. Is there anything that you would like to address with all the stuff that is kind of unfolded in the last couple of days on the internet, in the wrestling world?
This audio's rough.
No, because nothing has unfolded.
Wait a minute. Is he on a taxi cab microphone? Is he it sounds like when they call him the dispatcher on 46. Go ahead, 46.
No,
yeah, Main Street and Lincoln Avenue.
Somebody said some stupid shit on social media. Like, that's not news, but it is, and it ends up being a thing. I don't want to get dragged into this.
Let me stop. The audio is awful. Aren't they in the same house?
One would imagine, unless that maybe one of them's contagious, so they're in a cone of silence or a plastic bubble or whatever. But go ahead. Let's see if he can put together words better than Uncle Dave.
Let me just say this. I'm over here in Last Manor. Jim Cornette's in Louisville, Kentucky, and this is how much work we put into our audio. Whenever someone puts out a show with shit audio like that, it tells you what they think of the audience. It tells you what the host and the producer thinks of the audience. Let's go back.
It just bugs the living shit out of you. Sound quality is, you even take me to task for slurping my Sprite.
Just put some effort in, but here we go.
Dumb shit.
Yeah.
I could fucking unload on a lot of fucking people right now. And when I start getting dragged into this shit, it tempts me to do that, but I'm not going to fucking sink to that level.
Well, let me stop it there. He won't sink, Jon Moxley, and say a bunch of stuff, and he doesn't want to be involved in the drama. Any thoughts?
He would have to climb
reaction?
a stepladder to tickle a rattlesnake's belly.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
But I will say this. I'm just going to give you like a tidbit of information from my point of view. The entire summer, I was not under contract. No contract. Free agent. I was at SummerSlam weekend wrestling fucking Desperado and shit. The day of SummerSlam, fucking suplexed him on a bunch of aluminum cans and shit, cut in half. It was fucking dope. I could have walked into SummerSlam that night with the AEW fucking belt if I had been so inclined. Nobody knew that because I don't put my shit out there in the world and let everybody know every fucking thing about my business, you know? I was not under contract. The reason being, if you're curious, because I got a rehab and my contract was coming up. They extended it for the time that I missed. Cool. I'm glad they did, actually, because I didn't want to feel like I owed them anything, you know? So
I get it now. I totally get it now why this guy has gotten millions of dollars and the ability to do whatever he wants and got his wife a job and Saraya a job. I get it now. I would give this guy any amount of money to get out of my office too.
I think you found the answer.
Get out of my office, whatever you want. Just stop talking to me.
Just don't speak to me anymore and you can have anything.
They extended it a little bit. It was coming up. They're talking to me about it. And the last thing I wanted to do when I first got out of rehab, because all they were telling me is like, basically, logic would tell you don't go back to wrestling because you're just going to fall into the same old habits, right? So I wanted to just like ease back into it and see what life was like on the other side. And the last thing I wanted to do was just hurry up and sign a big long-term commitment. Because what if shit started going off the rails? And,
I don't know. You're gonna feel.
Yeah.
Again, this is less about Moxley than Tony Khan in my eyes.
Well, because again, Tony Khan, his world champion, CM Punk, huge babyface, gets hurt. He has to name, in his own mind, an interim champion because that's what Tony Khan does. So instead of putting it on a heel that Punk can then vanquish when he returns, because this was before All Out, before Media Scrum, before everything, the plans were he'd come back and reunite the belts. He puts it on not only a babyface that then will split the reaction when Punk comes back to reclaim what is his as a babyface rightfully should, but also he puts it on a guy that's not only not working under a contract, but just got out of rehab. Oh, here's a good, I've lost the use of my one world champion to injury, so I will give it to another one that is in no way obligated to work for me, and he just took off a significant amount of time to go to rehab and is not sure he wants to come back to wrestling full time. That was a great decision in hindsight, now that we know all these things.
Quickly, I was like, man, actually, being sober is awesome. This is fantastic. I'm having so much fun. I was working with my friends, Blackpool Combat Club, me and Brian and shit. I was like, fucking Regal. Like, this is great. And they're talking to me about signing a new thing. And I was like, if everything just stays exactly as it is right now, I'll be here forever. You can pay me in cash in an envelope at the end of the night. I don't give a fuck. But I can't tell you what I'm going to feel like in 6 months, especially not in 3 years or 5 years. And once I make a commitment, then I will push through injuries and I will push myself too hard and I will do all these things that add up and it leads you down the road or whatever. You know what I mean?
I mean, he's really more just defending his stance in not signing a contract while they put the world title on him, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he's also giving us more clarity into why Nick Gage is his hero.
Well, let's go to this.
You're fucking right. This I'm not talking about any substances or CTE or anything. We're just dealing with a guy that's apparently not ever been really very fucking intelligent.
Well, here's him starting to talk about CM Punk.
And so
Sure.
I was not in a hurry to make any kind of grand commitments, at first. That being said, during this time period, the night in
Cleveland?
fucking what's his dick's talking about was in Minneapolis. It was the night he came
One of those
back.
Appleses.
So CM Punk's what's his dicks?
What's his dicks?
That's a new expression for me, but let's go to this.
And was hopping around on one foot, bumping around Inner Circle or whatever after me and Jericho wrestled. In a badass match, by the way.
Yeah.
So we're talking later about stuff. Now, keep in mind, at this time, this is my whole point. I basically don't work there for all intents and purposes. I don't even work here. Tony is not my boss. I don't even have to be in this room. I don't have to do shit. So even me being in this room and offering and agreeing to a storyline that puts you over at the pay-per-view, if anything, I'm bending over backwards for Tony and for this dude and for the company and everybody. Because I didn't have to. I didn't have to do shit. If anything, I was bending over backwards. So.
Oh, hold on one second here. So basically, Tony Khan has given this fucking unemployed, balding fucking plumber a goddamn job for millions of dollars a year at that point. And It's what's best for the business. For Moxley to drop the belt to Punk at the pay-per-view, because Punk has drawn viewers and ratings and gates that Moxley has had plenty of chances to and has come up short. But Moxley, because the boss is a complete moron, is not under any kind of contract or obligation to give the goddamn belt back unless he then says, well, I need to beat you first, even though Moxley beating Punk at that point made absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. But because this guy's a mark for himself, thinks he's a badass, thinks he's a big star, and apparently thinks that he has these great fucking matches that nobody else is seeing.
Rocky 3.
Rocky 3, baby.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, I'll squash Punk on TV that 900,000 people will see, and then he can beat me in a real match on the pay-per-view that 150,000 people will see. That'll make it even. Yeah, fuck you, you fucking drooling simpleton. Go ahead.
See, I think he comes across incredibly unlikable here and unprofessional, and I would certainly never want to have this guy working for my company, but I don't blame him for any of this. This is Tony Khan who set the situation in motion.
He put a fucking idiot in that position, and then he had to fucking get that idiot out of that position, and however the idiot would agree to it.
That's it.
Okay, so I've got a couple
that's not even controversial. I'm just telling you.
No, those are just facts. Those are cut and dry
keep
facts.
that in fucking mind.
Okay, so my questions to you then, just like based off of that, and this doesn't even have anything to do with that situation. That can be the only piece that you say in the situation.
Is this Moon Zappa?
This is not Moon Unit Zappa, no.
I'm sorry, I thought it was.
Norge Weasel.
In sort of a situation for you in terms of like anytime there's been a little bit of a, something's happening. Oh, we got to do something. A lot of things have fallen on your shoulders. And I think it's pretty fair to say you, as one of the cornerstones of AEW, your run as champion. I mean, even if you want to go back to the pandemic days, but I think specifically you being able to step in if somebody's injured, if someone's in a situation that you have been.
Well, now you know who's pumping him up with all this shit.
Whoa, boy, there you go.
And
apparently she's behind it.
Guy, what kind of pressure comes with being that guy in situations when you haven't necessarily, it's not been planned out, but you step up in those occasions?
I mean, that's what a big part of my career has been. You got to be ready to seize opportunities when they arise. I think last time we did this was right before Forbidden Door, when I got slotted into Russell Tanahashi, which turned out amazing.
Right.
You know, so that was just an opportunity.
Everything he does is the same thing. It's just like, I'm going to say that, and then I did this, which was awesome.
It was amazing.
Which was great. It was dope. No, it really wasn't, man. Really fucking wasn't dope.
It ruled ass.
Opportunity. Got to be ready for that stuff. So for young wrestlers listening, you never know what's around the corner.
Get your advice from this guy.
Ready.
That's what young wrestlers should do.
You know?
It really is crazy to think of like your career and things like that happening. It's not just now. It's
like I've never been like, it's never been like the plan to build everything around me.
Right.
You know, the only time when it was kind of like that, the pandemic happened and the whole world shut down. So,
yeah.
That was the only
Oof. The big part apparently is coming right up because I don't know how much longer I can listen to these two.
Yeah, I was about to please get to some
This
point.
is rough. Okay, apparently Jason notified me that this is the big quote, as he put it. Let's go to this.
Big quote.
It'll be coming up in 17 seconds. Let's go to this.
time that ever happened.
Yeah.
But, does it get like annoying sometimes to be like, if you'd have just fucking gone with me in the first place, like we wouldn't be fucking going through this again.
Right.
Whoa, I didn't even realize that was in there. That's an interesting line.
If you'd have just made me the champion in the first place, oh, good Lord, maybe they'd be in a worse position than they are right now.
It does, but
instead of the bloodline, we'd have the mud line.
But also, no, it's all good. Like, I don't complain. I see the good in everything, and I'm just still having so much fucking fun.
Mm-hmm.
And life is so fucking good right now that I don't want any negative bullshit.
Right. How
What's the fucking complaint about? You know, like, ugh.
And I guess you can kind of like unload on that a little bit of just like the frustrations of not even this situation, but
I will say this, and I hate to say, I don't think I've ever said anything even remotely negative about AEW, but I will say this as an observer. It seems like, I spent 8 years on the indies, spent a couple years in WWE developmental, spent like 8 years in WWE. I have never seen so much bullshit drama in one place in my entire fucking life. I hate to say that.
That's right about that.
It's like, and I don't know if it's because of the age of social media. Shit gets like.
It's because of Tony Khan. It's because of Tony Khan. That's the only reason.
And the people that he assembles in the same place that don't match each other or belong there. It's all over the page.
Yeah, all the same people were on the indies.
And he can't corral them.
All those people were on the indies and working for WWE and in developmental. All the same people are usually around. Tony Khan is the intangible here. Tony Khan is the reason for all this drama.
And then they all start beating the shit out of each other once Tony shows up and starts paying them more money than they've ever seen before.
Blown out of proportion.
Right.
Like one person types one stupid fucking drunk tweet and all of a sudden it's all anybody wants to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
But also is like maybe just like a generational thing as well. Like not only the social media aspect, but like people are coming into the business a different way. People seem to be able to behave people just can go into business for themselves, whether they're going on social media and
I can't.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Hey, hold on. And now we've come to the part of the interview we were waiting for, the end of it.
Well, hold on.
Thank
you know what?
very much.
There's one more here. According to the
boy.
notes, that may be interesting. Hopefully it'll be less Renee. Let's go to this. Barbara Walters.
pay-per-view.
We're not talking about anything. We're talking about some bullshit. Like, let me be clear. The vast majority of people there don't cause any fucking trouble.
Sure.
Any bullshit.
Sure.
But they're getting sucked down into the shit.
Yeah.
Like everybody else.
Yeah.
Into the muck.
Can I stop you real quick? If the idea is the vast majority of the people here aren't involved in the drama, and I would say, considering how many people work there, that's probably true.
Yeah, it would almost have to be statistically.
And if Punk hasn't been anywhere near one of your buildings since last September, was it?
Yeah.
So what's causing all the drama?
What's causing all this?
You can't blame Punk if he's not even there. What's causing all the drama if it's not CM Punk? It's Tony Khan.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people who just want to get better and perform and fucking just do this job, man. It's the best job in the world.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. And I've taken, I'm not an official coach. I definitely don't ever want to be a producer, so to speak.
So, I know it's a pain in the ass.
Please no. Please no.
I'm going to stop it here. He apparently talks about how he likes being a coach and likes helping people. And apparently one of the big students he's been, I'm reading it I'm saying it as I read it. One of the students he loves getting the best out of is Marina Shafir.
Ah, does he know her?
He works with her apparently on her wrestling.
But he don't know her.
Well, there it is. Jon Moxley. And again, I think he comes across horribly. And I've always said it. CM Punk comes out the cult of personality. Jon Moxley has the biggest cult of personality in pro wrestling. People just get off on this persona he's crafted that they're willing to overlook everything else. Everything this guy's saying here.
Including every bit of visual evidence they have that his persona that he's crafted is bullshit. Because look at him. And besides that, again, you got a guy that's wanting to mentor young minds. His hero is the fucking bank-addicted drug robber who he thinks is great and should be on national television. This is the last guy that should be anywhere near a young wrestler because he's a mental case and he's delusional. And he would spread this shit everywhere like the fucking plague. Garbage wrestling. That's his mindset. And if you don't think that she's Barbara Walters and you don't think she's Diane Sawyer, how about Rita Cosby?
Okay.
See, I found one.
There you go. That works for me. Deborah Norville, maybe. I don't know. But to go back to this whole thing, and again, I think Moxley comes across really bad here. Just like, I could have done whatever I wanted, but I was just nice enough by the grace of me to do this. And I'm not sure this is the only time this has happened. I know he says he hates drama. Is this the only time Moxley's ever pulled this? Right then and there? That's the question I still want answered. But beyond Moxley, the fact that Tony Khan, when CM Punk got hurt, he thought the decision was to put the belt, like you said, on a babyface, on Moxley. Moxley's not under contract. Could have showed up at SummerSlam. It was out of his mouth right there. I could have shown up at SummerSlam.
Of course, he would have had to have a ticket or they wouldn't let him in, but still, he could have showed up there.
Further screwing up the relationship with Punk and the company, we now find out, or at least it's in his head as everything else is happening here. All this other drama coming out of the Bucks camp with the Adam Page promo and everything else. So all that's going on.
And from Punk's standpoint, he's got there, he has to put up with the whisper campaign from the Cucamonga kids. Then he's got to put up with this fucking clown come in and say, well, I'll just squash you first on TV and then you can beat me. And having to fucking go along with it because elsewise the guy can just walk with, the belt. It's not like they were going to put their fucking AEW belt on WWE television. They've been down that road. That doesn't work. But Moxley doesn't read a lot and thinks they could. And then Punk's got to put up with this other fucking bullshit. As soon as he gets past Moxley, he's got to put up with the fucking the Page double cross on live TV and the fucking continuing thing with Cabana and all that other shit.
You know what else is interesting? Now hearing more about this story and Moxley being so closely associated in character and out of character with Steven Regal. This is right around the time Regal was like, you know what? I need to be with my son. I need to get out of here.
I need to
and
get
go home.
Out of here.
All this backstage Tony Khan-induced drama because he's not prepared to be in the role that he's in as the booker and manager of talent for that company.
And all these things are starting to fill in now. And can anybody blame Punk at this point for being frustrated? When again, whisper campaign about Cabana and the fucking Cucamonga kids, and he's got to deal with Page, double-crossing him on live television. He's got to deal with this fucking guy and his fucking demands while he's injured and trying to come back and blah, blah, blah. What the fuck?
And
no
Tony
wonder he was
backed him.
cranky.
And remember, Punk said in that comment, I turned to Tony and said, is this what you want? And Tony said yes. And then after all that, Tony gave Moxley a new multi-million-dollar contract and hired his wife.
Yes. That's the thing I'd do to a guy say, I don't even really need to be here in this fucking room. And we're going to do things my way, or I'll show up at SummerSlam. Oh, well, here, let me sign you to years more for millions of dollars, and your wife can come along. The fuck?
Again, I know there's people dead set on Punk looking like the only bad guy in this situation, and I'm not saying I completely excuse Punk's behavior. However, come on. At this point, when he says he was working with children, it's becoming more and more apparent. It's like there's a new child introduced into the story every week now. Because all of a sudden, Moxley's part of the problem. How would you have dealt with that if you were Tony Khan? If you were a businessman and you have an interim world champion for whatever reason that's saying he's only going to do what he wants against your biggest star in the company, and he's also not under contract, what do you do?
I think you got to say, well, for one thing, he couldn't take the belt to SummerSlam. We've covered that. That's WWE wouldn't have gone for it, especially if it didn't work to show a NWA belt. They ain't gonna fucking try with AEW. I would tell him, okay, that's great. Then we will come up with some reason to explain your absence from this company for the rest of your life. Now, I wouldn't have been in the position where he was a babyface and where he was without a contract and still has my singles title and has just come out of rehab and his commitment to the wrestling business is tenuous. None of those things would have happened if it had been me. But if I'd have found myself in a position where this guy just said, you know what, I got this belt and I'm not going to drop it to your big star that you want to wear it unless I can beat him first, then I was in that case, I guess we got to say that you got run over by a car in a parking lot, motherfucker. We're going to figure something else out. But you're not beating this fucking guy.
It also sounds like Moxley's not going to be happy unless he's doing just what he wants.
Well, of course not, because he apparently thinks that this shit is good and he knows better than anybody else what he should be doing. It's good for him. don't sell anything, beat everybody. It's not believable. It's not good for anybody else, but it's good for him. So I'm sure he likes it. But that's where somebody else needs to be in charge and say, well, no, not all the time.